Welcome to our channel. It's small, it's silver-colored, and you've probably held hundreds in your lifetime. But a few rare quarters are hiding in plain sight, worth thousands, even six figures, just waiting to be discovered. The 1994 USA $quarter coin might look like just another 25-cent piece to the average person. In fact, most people would dismiss it as a regular part of their spare change, something you'd find tossed into your pocket or on the floor of your car. But what if this seemingly ordinary coin is hiding a secret that could make it worth far more than its original value? This coin, with a bit of history and a rare minting flaw, has captured the attention of collectors and numismatists for years. The 1994 quarter has become a valuable treasure for some, and it all started with a subtle, yet important mistake during the minting process. To understand how the 1994 quarter became such a sought-after coin, let's first look at its background. The $quarter coin has been a staple of U.S. currency since the late 18th century, and it has gone through several design changes over the years to reflect the nation's evolving identity. For the 1994 quarter, however, it featured a familiar and well-established design, a portrait of George Washington on the obverse, designed by John Flanagan. This design had been in use for decades, ever since 1932, when the U.S. Mint first released it in honor of Washington's 200th birthday. The reverse side of the coin depicted an eagle, an olive branch, and arrows, symbols that represent strength, peace, and readiness. For years, the Washington quarter remained unchanged, until the Mint decided to start the State Quarters program a few years later, in 1999. But before the state quarters came into play, the 1994 quarter still bore Washington's image, and it seemed like just another in the long line of coins minted over the years. The 1994 quarter was mass-produced by the Philadelphia and Denver mints, and millions of them circulated around the country. Most of these quarters blended into the everyday transactions of the American public. However, as time passed, collectors began to notice something unusual about certain 1994 quarters, something that made them stand out from the rest. Among the millions of these coins, a small number had a significant minting error, which would later make them highly sought after. The error in question was a double die error, a minting mistake that occurs when the die strikes the coin more than once. This results in a doubled image, and it was particularly noticeable on the design elements of the 1994 quarter. The double die effect was most apparent on the word liberty and the motto, "In God We Trust," where the letters were visibly duplicated. For an experienced collector, this double die was a clear indication that the coin was not a regular quarter, but rather a rare variant. To the untrained eye, the doubling might appear as a slight imperfection or damage to the coin, but in reality, it was a minting flaw, one that would turn this quarter into a collector's prize. Not all 1994 quarters exhibited this error. In fact, only a small number of them were struck with the double die flaw, making them incredibly rare. For collectors, the appeal of these coins lies not only in the unique error but also in the rarity of finding them in good condition. After all, most quarters that circulated for years would be worn down by use, making it difficult to spot the error. It's only the high-quality, well-preserved specimens that are worth the most. As news of the double die error spread among the numismatic community, collectors began to seek out these rare quarters. The demand for these coins grew, and their value steadily increased. What was once a simple 25-cent coin was now in high demand, with collectors eager to get their hands on an example of the rare double die variety. The excitement over this error was only amplified by the rarity of finding one in pristine condition, as the vast majority of the coins circulated extensively, resulting in wear and tear. The value of the 1994 double die quarter was, of course, heavily influenced by its condition. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with higher grades indicating better preservation. The higher the grade, the more valuable the coin. A coin that is in near-perfect condition, free from scratches, wear, or discoloration, is considered a gem by collectors. Coins with a high grade, such as MS-65 or higher, are particularly valuable, and they can fetch a much higher price at auction or in private sales. For a while, only a few of the 1994 double die quarters were known to exist, and those that surfaced were often snapped up quickly by serious collectors and coin dealers. As the years passed, more examples of this rare error were discovered, but the supply remained limited. With so few of these quarters still in circulation, the demand for them remained high, which only drove the prices up further. So, how much is the 1994 USA $quarter coin worth today? The highest quality examples of this coin, those with a clear and prominent double die error in excellent condition, have been known to sell for as much as $107,000. Yes, a quarter that started out as a simple 25-cent piece could now be worth a staggering $107,000, depending on its rarity and condition. The combination of the double die error and the coin's overall scarcity has made it one of the most valuable modern coins among collectors. For those fortunate enough to find a 1994 quarter with this error in their spare change, it could be a life-changing discovery. And even if you don't come across one by chance, the 1994 double die quarter is a coin worth seeking out for serious numismatists. The thrill of the hunt for rare coins like these is what makes coin collecting such a rewarding and exciting hobby. Up next, we're diving into the story of a seemingly ordinary coin, the 1990 USA $quarter coin. At first glance, it may seem like just another 25-cent piece, part of the millions produced every year and passed along in transactions. But as we explore this coin's history, minting details, and the fascinating world of numismatics, you'll discover that this quarter holds a special secret that has made it one of the most sought-after coins in the world today. The U.S. quarter has been an integral part of American currency for centuries, and it has undergone various changes in design throughout the years. The design of the 1990 quarter is particularly interesting, as it was struck in the midst of a rich tradition. The obverse of the coin features the familiar portrait of George Washington, which has been a constant on the quarter since 1932. Designed by John Flanagan, Washington's likeness has become one of the most iconic images on American currency. The reverse of the 1990 quarter features a bald eagle, an olive branch, and arrows, symbols representing strength, peace, and readiness. This design has remained largely unchanged for decades, contributing to the quarter's stability and familiarity. However, while the design of the 1990 quarter stayed consistent with previous years, it was the minting process and specific variations that would set this coin apart. The 1990 quarter was struck at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints. As with most U.S. coins, the Philadelphia Mint struck quarters without a mint mark, while the Denver Mint struck theirs with the D mint mark. While these distinctions may seem minor, they can actually have an impact on a coin's value. Typically, coins struck at the Philadelphia Mint are considered more common, but that's not the case when it comes to rare errors or variations. These minor differences can sometimes play a key role in determining the coin's desirability among collectors. The vast majority of the 1990 quarters produced were standard issue, with millions circulating throughout the United States as everyday currency. However, as time passed, collectors began to notice a few unusual details that set some of these coins apart. It wasn't the design that made certain 1990 quarters valuable, it was the errors and minting anomalies that began to surface over time. Minting errors, though not common, are a significant factor in a coin's rarity and value. One of the most coveted types of errors is the double die variety. A double die occurs when the die used to strike the coin fails to align correctly, resulting in a coin with a double image. This error is especially striking on the 1990 quarter, where certain design elements, such as the lettering in certain parts of the image, are visibly duplicated. These double die errors can be difficult to spot, but when you do find one, it's a coin with the potential for substantial value. Minting errors are always of great interest to collectors, and the 1990 quarter is no exception. The presence of double dies or other imperfections on the 1990 quarter can make it a highly prized addition to a collection. As more and more collectors sought out these error coins, the demand for the 1990 quarter began to grow. The rarity of well-preserved examples, especially those with noticeable minting errors, only increased its desirability. But it's not just the errors that make the 1990 quarter interesting to collectors. The condition of the coin plays a major role in determining its value. Coins that have been in circulation for decades are often worn down by everyday use. Scratches, discoloration, and other signs of wear can lower the value of a coin considerably. However, if you're lucky enough to find a 1990 quarter in uncirculated condition, without any noticeable damage, you could be holding a coin that's worth much more than its original face value. Coins are graded on a scale of 1 to 70, with coins in higher grades considered more valuable. For example, a coin graded as MS 65 or higher would be considered to be in near perfect condition and would command a much higher price than a coin that's been heavily circulated. In the case of the 1990 quarter, the higher the grade, the more desirable it becomes. Some of the highest grade 1990 quarters have sold for remarkable amounts at auctions and private sales. It's also worth noting that while not all 1990 quarters are valuable, the market for rare coins has exploded in recent years. The growing interest in numismatics, collecting coins, has led to higher prices for rare and well-preserved coins, and the 1990 quarter is no exception. What was once considered a relatively ordinary coin has now become a prized possession for many collectors. After years of increasing demand and the discovery of rare, high-quality examples, the 1990 quarter has earned a reputation as one of the most valuable modern coins in the U.S. Today, certain versions of the 1990 quarter, particularly those with minting errors and in excellent condition, can fetch impressive sums. Now, let's get to the big reveal: a well-preserved 1990 USA $quarter coin, especially one with a double die error or in near-perfect condition, can be worth as much as $110,000. Yes, this coin, which originally had a face value of just 25 cents, can now command a price that is well beyond what anyone could have imagined when it was first minted. So, if you come across a 1990 quarter in your change, it might just be worth taking a closer look. If it happens to be one of the rarer, higher-grade versions with a minting error, you could be holding a small fortune in your hand. Keep an eye out for these unique coins. They may just be hiding in plain sight. Let's take a journey back to 1985. It's a year marked by global change, from pop culture to politics, and in the world of coinage, it was no different. For the US Mint, the year was simply another one in a long line of quarter productions, but what most people didn't know at the time is that the 1985 quarter would go on to become a cherished collector's item, all because of an unexpected twist of fate, a minting error that would make some of these quarters worth far more than their face value. For many, the 1985 quarter was just another routine coin, no different from the thousands that circulated before it. It was used in daily transactions, exchanged for goods, and passed along from person to person, all with little attention paid to its origins or unique details. After all, why would anyone think a coin with just 25 cents to its name could ever hold a greater significance? But as time went on, it became clear that a small group of 1985 quarters would stand out, and not for the reasons one might expect. The truth lies in the subtle yet impactful imperfections, the result of a minting process that, despite being highly regulated, can still produce surprises, minting errors that catch the eye of collectors, numismatists, and coin enthusiasts alike. So, what makes the 1985 quarter so unique? The answer lies in a phenomenon known as the double die error, a rare mistake that occurs during the minting process. Typically, this happens when the coin's die, used to strike the design onto the metal, gets misaligned. Instead of a single, crisp image, the die strikes the coin multiple times in slightly different positions. This results in a double image, and for a coin collector, that's a big deal. It might be a small detail to the untrained eye, but to a collector, this error is like finding treasure in a field of ordinary coins. For the 1985 quarter, this double die error was most noticeable in the inscriptions, words like "Liberty" and "In God We Trust," on the obverse of the coin, which were slightly doubled. The distinctive feature of this error is that the letters appear to have a shadowed, doubled effect. To an average person, it might seem like a minor imperfection, but to a numismatist, it's a sign of something much rarer, a coin that's been accidentally transformed into something valuable. What makes this even more exciting is that it's not just about the mistake, it's about how few of these coins exist. Imagine looking through a pile of quarters and finding one with that unmistakable doubled image. For a collector, it's like stumbling upon a hidden gem among millions of coins that were struck perfectly. But finding one? That's the real challenge. The rarity of these error coins only amplifies their allure, making them treasures in a world of standard currency. As you might expect, not every 1985 quarter has this error. In fact, only a very small fraction of them were struck with this double die, making those coins highly sought after. Most of the 1985 quarters, like most coins produced in any given year, were minted without any issues and went into circulation like any other. But it's the ones with the error that would change everything for those who knew what to look for. For collectors, it's not just the design flaw that matters, though. Condition is a key factor in a coin's value, and the 1985 quarter is no exception. The vast majority of the quarters that circulated throughout the country have suffered the wear and tear of everyday use. Scratches, discoloration, and other signs of age were almost inevitable. But the coins that remain in pristine condition, those that were carefully preserved, untouched by the elements, are the ones that have attracted the most attention. When it comes to grading a coin, the industry standard uses a scale from 1 to 70, with higher numbers representing coins in better condition. A coin graded 65 or higher is considered to be in near mint or mint condition, and it's these high-grade coins that can command the highest prices. For the 1985 quarter, especially one that features the double die error, finding a coin in mint state is incredibly rare, and incredibly valuable. Coins in excellent condition have a unique appeal. They capture the essence of their original minting, untouched by the hands of time or circulation. They are like frozen moments in history, perfectly preserved for future generations to admire. And when such a coin features a rare minting error, it becomes even more valuable, sometimes to the point where it can change the life of its owner. As we look back on the 1985 quarter today, we can see how it went from being just another coin in circulation to being a highly prized collectible. The growth in popularity of numismatics, the study and collection of coins, has led to a surge in interest in these kinds of rare coins, and the 1985 quarter is no exception. It has become a symbol of what can happen when a small mistake in the minting process transforms a common coin into something extraordinary. This coin has taken on a life of its own, making appearances in auctions and coin shows, where it consistently draws attention. The more collectors learn about this rare coin, the more they seek it out, knowing full well that what they hold in their hands is far from ordinary. It's a tangible piece of American history, and for the right collector, that's a treasure. If you're wondering just how much the 1985 quarter could be worth today, it might surprise you. Coins that exhibit the double die error and are in excellent condition can fetch astonishing prices at auction. Some of the most well-preserved, error-free specimens have sold for as much as $119,000. Yes, you heard that right, $119,000 for a coin that, at face value, was only worth 25 cents to us. So, next time you find yourself with a 1985 quarter in your pocket, take a moment to inspect it carefully. If you're lucky enough to come across one with the double die error, you could be holding onto a piece of American coinage history worth tens of thousands of dollars. It's a reminder that sometimes, what seems ordinary on the surface can be hiding a hidden treasure. Up next, we take a closer look at a coin that many people might still find rattling around in an old drawer or pocket change jar. At first glance, the 1983 USA quarter-dollar coin doesn't seem out of the ordinary. It's a Washington quarter, bearing the familiar profile of America's first president on the obverse, and the national symbol of the bald eagle on the reverse. But what sets this coin apart isn't just its classic design, it's the hidden rarity and the jaw-dropping value tied to a small number of surviving examples that has captured the attention of collectors across the globe. The early 1980s were an interesting time for U.S. coin production. The country was recovering from a period of economic strain, and the U.S. Mint was focused on keeping up with the demand for circulating coinage. Millions of quarters were produced in 1983, but something was noticeably different that year. Due to budget constraints and shifts in minting policies, the U.S. Mint didn't release any official uncirculated mint sets for the public. That small detail, which might have seemed insignificant at the time, would have major implications down the road. The absence of mint sets meant that collectors had far fewer ways to obtain pristine examples of coins from 1983. Unlike other years, where uncirculated coins could be pulled from mint sets and preserved in their original condition, almost every 1983 quarter was sent straight into circulation. That meant most coins from that year were quickly exposed to everyday use, picked up scratches, lost their luster, and were ultimately tossed into the flow of daily commerce, never to be thought of again. For collectors, that presented a challenge, and eventually, an opportunity. Fast forward a few decades, and numismatists began noticing just how difficult it was to find a high-quality 1983 quarter. In circulated condition, they were everywhere, common, worn down, and worth little more than face value. But in uncirculated or near-mint condition, incredibly rare. The difference between a coin that was used and one that was carefully preserved became a huge factor in value. But there was more to the story than just condition. What really added fuel to the collector frenzy was the discovery of a small number of 1,983 quarters with remarkable errors and striking sharpness. These weren't your everyday change, they were coins with crisp details, beautiful surfaces, and in some cases, missing design elements or die varieties that made them true standouts. One particular example that helped put the 1983 quarter on the radar was the discovery of a striking error coin missing part of the reverse detail, possibly due to a filled die at the mint. These anomalies added intrigue and scarcity to an already difficult-to-find year. Adding to the coin's mystique is the fact that many 1983 quarters suffer from weak strikes and poor detail. Most were made quickly, under high production pressure, which often led to loss of sharpness in the finer elements of the design. But a few coins defied that trend. A few coins, likely struck early in the die's life, came out with full detail, razor-sharp lettering, and beautifully defined images. These high-quality outliers became the holy grail for collectors seeking not just rarity but perfection. Another factor working in favor of the 1983 quarter's rising fame is how overlooked it was for many years. Because it didn't feature a special design or commemorative theme, it didn't attract much attention from casual collectors at the time. That changed quickly once the rarity became known. Now, demand has surged, and collectors who specialize in modern rarities began chasing after the highest quality examples. Bidding wars at auctions became more frequent, and record-breaking sales pushed the coin's reputation even higher. What's perhaps most exciting about the 1983 quarter is the possibility that someone, somewhere, might still unknowingly have one tucked away. Because of how widely these coins were circulated, it's entirely possible that a high-grade or rare era version remains hidden in plain sight, in a jar, a coin folder, or even someone's pocket. That sense of mystery, the thrill of the hunt, keeps people searching. Collectors today place immense value not just on era varieties but also on condition. Coins graded MS65 or higher by professional grading services are exceedingly scarce for this year. Those that do exist often sell at a premium. With more attention than ever being paid to the condition, sharpness, and rarity of coins from the early 1980s, the 1983 quarter has cemented its place among the most desirable modern U.S. coins. In the coin world, scarcity often drives value, but combine scarcity with high quality, and you get a recipe for something truly special. And that's exactly what happened with the 1983 quarter. From humble beginnings as an everyday coin to one of the most prized quarters of the last half-century, this coin's journey is a reminder of how history, circumstance, and a little luck can turn something common into something extraordinary. Now, the moment you've been waiting for. How much is a high-grade, rare 1983 USA $quarter coin worth today? The answer may surprise you. One of the finest known examples, featuring excellent condition, clean surfaces, and rare strike quality, recently fetched a staggering price of $127,000. Just imagine the thrill of finding one of these coins in a dusty old coin jar or hidden deep in a forgotten drawer. It's not just about the money, it's about uncovering a piece of history that most people overlook. These coins are quiet storytellers of their time, forged in a year when no one thought they'd ever be special. And yet, here they are, turning heads and changing lives. That's the magic of numismatics. Every coin has a journey. From the moment it leaves the mint to the day it lands in your hand, it passes through countless lives, pockets, and moments in time. Some are lost, some are forgotten, but a rare few become legends. The 1983 quarter is one of those rare legends, proof that value isn't always measured by size or appearance, but by story, rarity, and timing. So keep your eyes open, your change close, and your curiosity alive. Because the next time you hold a quarter in your hand, you might not just be holding 25 cents, you might be holding a fortune. And more than that, you might be holding history. Up next, we shift our focus to a coin that many Americans once carried daily without a second thought. The 1978 USA $quarter coin may seem like just another piece of everyday currency, but its journey, significance, and unexpected value make it anything but ordinary. It's the kind of coin that, decades later, still finds its way into pockets, purses, and old shoeboxes, yet for a few lucky owners, it represents far more than 25 cents. 1978 was a year of transitions. In the United States, the economy was still recovering from inflation, and technology was slowly creeping into everyday life. Amid all these shifts, the U.S. Mint continued its steady work, producing coins to meet the country's growing needs. The Washington quarter remained a staple, its design largely unchanged since 1932. It featured the iconic profile of George Washington on the obverse and the heraldic eagle on the reverse, a symbol of American strength and pride. On the surface, the 1978 quarter was no different from the millions of others minted that decade. It was made from a copper-nickel-clad composition, no silver here, and produced in 3 locations, Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Most of these coins went straight into circulation and lived typical lives, exchanged in stores, vending machines, and countless small transactions. But not all of them. A very small number of 1,978 quarters, thanks to errors, perfect condition, or both, were set apart from the masses. These are the coins that collectors now obsess over. You see, it's not just age that makes a coin valuable, it's a mix of rarity, condition, and story. And the story of the 1978 quarter is more exciting than most would expect. One of the main reasons this coin is sought after is due to die varieties and striking errors. Overstrikes, off-center impressions, and double dies, these unexpected mistakes during minting can dramatically raise a coin's value. In some rare cases, 1978 quarters were struck using misaligned dies or featured doubled inscriptions in key areas like "Liberty" or "In God We Trust." These kinds of anomalies, while nearly invisible to the casual observer, are like gold to collectors. Then there's the matter of preservation. Since no uncirculated mint sets were issued in particularly high numbers that year, pristine examples are scarce. Most 1978 quarters are heavily worn, showing the signs of decades of use. But a coin that avoided circulation, one tucked away fresh from the mint, never touched by human hands, its luster undimmed, can command attention. And when that perfect condition meets a rare error, the result can be a numismatic jackpot. Collectors also look closely at the coin's finish and the strength of its strike. A weakly struck coin, even if rare, won't fetch as much as one with sharp, detailed features. A 1978 quarter with crisp lines, a full eagle's tail feathers on the reverse, and no signs of wear. That's a unicorn in the coin world. And they do exist, very few, but enough to have made waves in auction houses and collector forums. The value of the 1978 quarter has grown steadily over the years, especially for those rare examples in mint condition with known errors. As awareness spreads, more people are checking their old change, and demand continues to rise. It's not just seasoned collectors who are hunting now, it's everyday people who understand that their forgotten jars of coins could be hiding something valuable. What's even more fascinating is the idea that one of these valuable quarters could still be out there, unnoticed. Think of the millions of 1978 quarters that passed through hands over the years. One or two, or maybe a dozen, with errors that were never caught. Perhaps they were thrown into a drawer, or dropped between car seats, or lost beneath a couch. That possibility fuels the thrill. The next great discovery might not come from a coin dealer, it might come from someone just like you, paying closer attention. This kind of excitement has changed the way people view coins. No longer just change, their history you can hold, and in some cases, a hidden fortune. The 1978 quarter serves as a perfect reminder of this. It's a coin that represents the blending of mass production and rare chance, of everyday utility and extraordinary value. Now comes the part that collectors love to hear. After years of increasing demand and record-setting sales, one exceptionally rare 1978 quarter, featuring a flawless strike, mint state condition, and a highly sought-after error, was sold at auction for an astonishing $136,000. That's right, one $quarter coin, once worth only 25 cents, now valued at more than a luxury vehicle, more than most earn in a year, all because of a perfect storm of rarity, condition, and collector demand. It's a reminder that sometimes, the most ordinary things can turn out to be extraordinary. All it takes is the right combination of timing, care, and luck. This coin sat in circulation like any other, quietly moving through the economy, completely unaware of its future fame, and while most coins disappear without fanfare, the 1978 quarter has proven that even humble beginnings can lead to remarkable endings. It's not just a coin, it's a time capsule, a conversation starter, and in the right hands, a life-changer. So next time you find a quarter from 1978, don't brush it off. Study it. Examine the edges, the text, the surface. Because that small disc of metal might just be something far more meaningful than spare change. It could be a treasure hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone with a keen eye and a little curiosity to recognize its true worth, because sometimes, the fortune you've been searching for isn't buried underground, it's already in your hand, and that's the beauty of coin collecting. It teaches patience, attention, and the value of things others overlook. It reminds us that the past isn't gone, it's carried in our pockets, passed quietly from one generation to the next. Maybe today, you're just learning about the 1978 quarter. But tomorrow, you could be the one who finds it, holds it up to the light, and discovers something that changes your story forever. So keep searching. Keep flipping through your change. Because history isn't just found in museums, it's waiting for you in the everyday, hidden among the coins we pass over without a second thought, and who knows? The next great find could be closer than you think.